the bottom 90% of men in general are viewed as not valuable.
I feel like it's very common to hear the term like it's a man's world. So I feel like you saying, oh, the men are not okay. Now you're going to see a lot more men, doing what they're meant to be, what they're meant to have been doing.
I'm not saying the women should lower their expectations. What I'm saying is that you have to deal with the reality of the fact that the sheer number of men out there that are at your level or above you is so small.
I feel like you're unpacking a lot. So today I'm joined by Injil Muhammad. He's the founder and CEO of Buddle, a career coaching platform empowering professionals with courses, coaching, and clarity. And we're going to be making this episode a lot more fun. Everything
that you are scared of now, your former self thought was impossible, so keep going.
This podcast, we get deep sometimes.
We get deep. But is it that deep?
Exactly.
This is It That Deep? The podcast where laughs and lessons go hand in hand. We cover everything from finance to relationships and politics. Some of the topics may be sensitive, but it's a safe space to learn and grow. Stick around because this podcast is worth your time. IITD Podcast.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Is It That Deep podcast. I'm doing your host, and today I have a distinguished guest with me. All right, let me just quickly give you some 1-2. So today I'm joined by Injil Muhammad. He's the founder and CEO of Buddle, a career coaching platform empowering professionals with courses, coaching, and clarity. After leaving investment banking behind, Injil took a leap into entrepreneurship and has built a community, online presence, and business that helps people make better career decisions. From that intro, you guys can kind of guess what the topic is going to be about. But before the reveal, I'll just have Injil give us 1 or 2 words.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome.
We work together at Goldman, obviously, as you know. And I kind of realized when I got there that there were so many aspects of succeeding in that environment that I just wasn't taught in college. Mm-hmm. The soft skills in navigating the workplace. Yeah. And so wanted to just help solve that problem, help young people that are going into those environments succeed. And so that's what Buddle does. We help young people succeed in the workplace so that they can help, extend their careers, expand their careers, and just, lead to a sustainable work-life balance, work success, and just be successful. So it's been a journey, and I know we'll get into it, but it's been a pleasure.
All right. So you guys, that's a couple words from Angel. We're going to be making this episode a lot more fun. You guys can expect games, but the topic today is going to be, securing the bag as a Gen Z CEO, but we're also going to be covering some misconceptions about Gen Z in the workforce. But before we get into it, we're just going to have a quick icebreaker. So, Angel, what's a hot topic for you right now?
What's a hot topic?
Or hot take, not hot topic, hot take.
So this is very off topic, but one thing that I've seen, at least in my very little experience in the world, is that
very little experience.
Yeah, I'm very young. I'm very young.
How old are you?
25. Yeah, I'm young. I skipped a grade, but anyway, the boys are not okay.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is there have been massive gains made in terms of education for women, and that's phenomenal for a multitude of reasons. And at the same time, a lot of times, if you're in an environment where you're not expected to succeed, you're not given necessarily the tools and the attention to be successful in a traditional educational environment, it's hard for you to see yourself as someone who's fulfilling upon what your vision is of what it means to be basically a man. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of boys today, I mean, this is not exclusive of me, myself included, are trying to find ways to, think highly of themselves. And if you look at the ratio of who's getting college degrees, I mean, it's going to be 2-to-1 women versus men in a couple of years. The nature of the dating market, how that has turned into a marketplace, especially in heterosexual relationships. Women typically want to date or marry above, higher in a socioeconomic status. The polarization and the fact that the dating market has become more of a marketplace with online dating, it's made it such that the top 10% get all of the attention, and all of the all of the lore and those kinds of things, and the bottom 90% of men in general are viewed as not valuable, right? Because if you're not able to get the education,
like you're unpacking a lot.
I'm just saying.
But continue.
If you're not able to get an education that is on par with your peers, if you're not able to, if you look at, people talk a lot about the wage gap.
Yeah.
That has almost entirely been eradicated if you're under 25, right? Women under 25 are making actually more than men under 25. And so if you're,
I don't know if that's true.
of those in the marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're not working, obviously.
Okay.
I'm talking about those who are employed.
But I still find that interesting, though, because I feel like something people say is that, women complain about the wage gap. But the thing is, women are not negotiating as much as men are, which is why you can have a guy who's your peer make maybe a little more than you're earning. That's
definitely true. But I think that's more so true when you get into the mid to late careers, when there are the larger negotiation bands. If you're coming out of college, the salary is basically the salary that you accept.
Okay, fair enough.
And so I think when you talk about what are the credentials for people that are getting those early career jobs, a lot of it is education. And so if women are achieving education at higher rates and being more successful, I think it's like 75% of valedictorians are women, which is great. But it also means that, most men are not seeing themselves in terms of academic excellence, and they're being discouraged almost, and a lot of times by the way the systems are set up. Being very stationary is important as a young boy in class. A lot of times boys want to run around, and so you can be seen as a disciplinary issue, and that can impact your grades if you're young. And I used to run around all the time when I was a little boy. I mean, most boys are a lot of times more active, and so you're taught that maybe this type of academic environment isn't made for me. And these are obviously generalizations.
Continue.
No, I'm just saying, like, there's
maybe in America. I don't know.
Maybe in America. I'm only talking about the experiences that I've had.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to sort of, in the pursuit of
your education.
In the pursuit of education, in the pursuit of having a society where, people are able to find peers like them that they can mate with and grow great families with. It's important for both sides of that equation to be successful, be prominent, and be, kind of improving. So basically the point is, I think there's been a ton of focus on, women's educational advancements, and all that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I think it's not a zero-sum game. And we can also talk about the fact that men are falling behind in a very real way. And it's not against, it's okay to address that because it has implications that are obviously on society at large.
Fair. I want to argue with you so bad, but like a part of me is like, he's the CEO of Buddle. Like he works with, recruiting, and he probably really knows his stats. So maybe we should just accept what he's saying for what it is. But, I feel like it's very common to hear the term like it's a man's world. So I feel like you saying, the men are not okay. And
the boys, men are doing great. But the boys are not okay.
The men are okay, but the boys
Sorry,
are
this
not
is
okay.
this is a comment specifically about like people almost 25, 26 and under. So I should have made that very clear.
Okay.
So when I'm talking about like the massive gains that men have made over the past, a billion years or however long we've been in existence.
Well, it's good that you specified.
Yeah. No. I'm not trying to say that the wage gap doesn't exist. I'm not saying that at all. My point is, if you just take the past few years, those who are currently coming into the workforce, those who are recently graduated from college, at that level, there is a huge gap between women that are seeking out graduate education versus men, success in academic environments in these institutions. And that has led to a large gap in terms of the ability for peers on different sexes to find people that are on their same level. So my point is, I mean, obviously boomer men are doing phenomenal because women couldn't even have jobs back then.
Exactly.
But if you're talking about Gen Z, there's two main points. One, the proliferation of online dating has made that game a marketplace. And so the cream rises to the top. All of the top, I guess, men that are perceived to be more have higher status are getting all the attention. And like if you're in the bottom 90%, a lot of times you can be kind of shut out of that entirely. And so that's something that didn't occur, you know. Mm-hmm. I've never made a dating profile, right? Because I started dating my girlfriend like 7 years ago. So like if you were trying to date in this market, this environment, I mean, I have a lot of friends. I went to Harvard. I have a lot of friends.
The boys watching this episode are gonna be like, "Angel, talk your talk."
I'm just saying.
They'll be like, "This boy."
I'm just saying, like, it's kind of crazy. Like, if you know, you can be, in my opinion, objectively on paper, very like impressive, but because of the infatuation with like, you know.
Well, actually, give us a little more about your credentials, because I feel like I didn't do justice to like your experience. So give us a little more.
So I
graduated Harvard.
School. I went to graduated Harvard. I studied math. I worked at Goldman for 3 years.
And he graduated Harvard with honors in math. He's a genius. But continue.
Thank you. This is true. But I'm saying this as someone who a lot of my friends are from Harvard and like you know have these great degrees and have this. Like even at that level, there's this concept or this notion that well, if you're not, you know, at my level, then you are basically worthless. And at my level, in most cases, is a socioeconomic or educational context. Okay. And for people around our age, socioeconomic status is determined primarily by education. The gap starts to expand once you get older, right? Like, but if you're coming out of college, most of the time the jobs you can achieve are based on your education level. Yeah. So the fact that women, for the first time in history, are massively outpacing men, I'm talking about right now graduating, that has led to a really difficult environment for heterosexual relationships, women seeking men that are at their level or higher. At the same time, you have, again, this expansion of the online dating that has turned relationships into a marketplace. So everyone at the top gets all of the attention and people at the bottom get very little. People in the majority get very little. And so, you know, that has led to some issues. I mean, again, I have friends that are, you know, Harvard grads that have trouble like even meeting people and like just finding ways to engage because I don't want to say expectations are too high. Expectations just seem to be warped in my eyes and like not really in touch with reality. So I just think it's an issue. And, you know, it's not really being talked about because people are scared to say that men have any problems because, you know, obviously they are the more privileged, most privileged gender in every way. But in this particular time, for those under 25, let's say, there are some issues that deserve to get attention. So that's kind of my view.
To me, it seems like you're saying that, you know, first of all, like, just on the education piece, you're saying, okay, now there's a lot more women, you know, getting their education. I was going to argue with you on that point, but I feel like when you specify, no, it's the boys, it's not the men, like, you know, the boomers, they've had their advantage. I can see it, I can understand it more in terms of the boys. But honestly, I feel like, you know, it's not that, you know, society is not encouraging men to get an education. I think there's just a societal norm where, like, I feel like we're girls. If you don't pursue an education, or if you don't pursue, you know, don't get educated, don't go to school, it's fine because, you know, you can just get married and like chill, you know, like why, you know, it's more like has been, you know, girls from even as a child is being pushed like it's fine, you know. You don't need to, you know, you can push yourself and achieve a lot of things, but you don't need to like achieve so much because like they feel like if you achieve so much now you're threatening the men. But lest I digress, I just think that, you know, because of that societal norm, I think that's why there's been that push for women to get their education. And I think to your point on the whole education piece, I think now I don't think it's even balanced yet. I think it's just starting to get balanced because there's really been that push. And what you're speaking on with like women getting their education, I think is the balance. I don't think that it would mean that it would definitely affect dating for sure. Because now, I don't know if you're a 50-50 kind of guy, but I was going to say, since now, like, a lot of women are working, can provide, there's not as much of a wage disparity. It's it still exists, mind you. It still definitely exists. We're talking about, like, 25 and below. Talking about the Gen Z, maybe not as much, Or it's very likely that you've probably see other guys who you make the same as, or maybe even a little more. It's very much possible. But again, there's still gender bias. I'm not going to lie. Like, you still see in the workplace. But so in terms of, the relationship piece, would you say that you're more of a kind of guy who opts for the 50-50 option? Or do you feel like, moving forward, that's kind of the society that we're going to have? Because now majority of women are working. So instead of, just seeing the woman as more of the nurturer and the caretaker of the child, now you're going to see a lot more men, doing what they're meant to have been doing, which is, being at present in their child's life.
I pay for everything. I don't do the 50-50 stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, personally. I just, yeah.
Okay, period.
I don't really believe in that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you think that, first of all, see, you guys, I don't have any, growing up and how I grew up, I think the man should, be the one doing most of it. But I feel like I can also understand now that women work, maybe contribute a little towards the household, but also based off of your point. So I guess in that perspective, would you think it's unfair then? You think it's
so? Yes, I mean, the reason why I'm okay with paying for everything is because I've been able to, at least thus far, knock on wood. But my point is that, like, if you are, I mean, I went to Harvard and I studied math. Like, I was able to get a good job.
Good job, okay.
But, like, most people are not in that situation.
Fair enough.
And so if you're making,
and he works as an investment banker.
If you're making a lot of money as a woman and you're trying to date, and a dude says, actually, I can't pay for this because I don't have any economic opportunities.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, entry-level jobs are being taken away by AI. We could get into all that. You don't have the same job prospects as you once did because manufacturing has been, obviously taken overseas. So you need a college degree to get most roles. And so it makes it difficult to have expectations for someone to pay when they literally are unable to. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that women should lower their expectations. What I'm saying is that you have to deal with the reality of the fact that the sheer number of men out there that are at your level or above you is so small that we should focus on having men who are not as economically viable today be able to live up to that standard. That should be where the focus is, in my view. It's not like telling women to stop getting education. It's not about, changing expectations. It's like, how can we help a C student from a public high school get a job where they can support themselves?
So you think there's more resources for girls, maybe like in public schools, to get an education compared to the boys?
I'm saying there's very little resources at all for boys. It's all about closing the wage gap. And it's like, well, great. That's phenomenal. But what about all these boys that are not economically viable anymore? What are we going to do about that?
Interesting. So would you say so now we're going into the next thing, but would you say this issue maybe kind of inspired you to start your company?
No,
not at all.
I would actually not say
because
so.
It feels like okay, never mind, but continue.
Sorry, it did. I can talk about that if you're
okay. You can talk about
so
that.
The reason this is actually totally left field, but the reason why I started my company is like I said, I went to Harvard. I studied math. I was president of this finance club, nationwide finance club. I had 3 internships during college. And so when I got to the workplace, I was like, I'm good. I should be straight. If anyone is prepared, it should be me. Right? Great education, great background, all this experience, etc. And it was really difficult. The transition was real. college to the workplace, the rules that govern the workplace are different.
Yeah.
Like they're just very different than what.
It took me a minute to like catch on to like how office politics work.
It's crazy, and nobody talks about it.
You don't learn. I feel like you have. It's almost like you see it happen, or like you make some mistakes, and you're like, this is how it works, and then you sit up, and then now you're like, okay, I'm in the game now, and then you kind of know how to navigate the system.
It's crazy. It's ridiculous that no one teaches it. And then like when you somehow figure stuff out through trial and error, ask people, they're just like, oh yeah, this is how this works, and it's like, wait, you knew that the whole time? Why couldn't you just tell me? Like, that's crazy. You're just gonna let me fold for years?
Yeah.
And like if I figure it out, I'm lit, and if I don't, it's just over. But that's the system that I think a lot of people kind of find themselves in when they make that transition. Regardless of how well or poorly you did in college, it's almost irrelevant because the rules that govern how to be successful in the workplace are simply different. And so I experienced that personally, was shocked because I'm like, I should be prepared. Like what? And if anybody's prepared, it should be me. And so those softer skills like self-advocacy, right? Time management, network building. That's the kind of expertise that is not taught in school. And so I wanted to say, how can we solve this problem?
They don't teach that at Harvard?
They don't teach that at Harvard.
Wow.
That's what I'm trying to tell. Like, I'm like, if anybody should know, like, it should be me. But they don't teach it.
Interesting. Now let me use this opportunity to shout out Rutgers University. That's what I went to for undergrad. Funny enough, they created this class like around the time, I don't know when they created it, but I know it was a new course. It's called Business Forum. And they made us like set up LinkedIn. They made us like create YouTube videos. They taught us how to network. Because I think then, maybe some schools have started to clock it and like realize there's a need for it. But lest I digress, I just want to put that out there.
Shout out Rutgers. And I do think there are programs that provide that, but was that a mandatory class for everyone to take?
Yeah, they made it a mandatory
for everyone.
class. Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah. Most schools are not as good as Rutgers.
I think it was some professor. I don't know where this man came, but I don't know if I want to shout him out. But yeah, they made it like a mandatory class for all business students.
So if you weren't in business, that's what I mean. If you
were not in the business school, I don't know about you.
So everyone who was not a business major just doesn't know how to.
No, because my friend suffered. Yeah. Like, she struggled. I had to, like, be teaching her simple things. I'm like, I don't know what they're teaching you, and don't let me say the name of that other school, but okay, carry on.
No, but I think that's a great point in that there's not, like, a specific role or major that you should take in order to learn these skills. Exactly. It's just, like, being a part of the workplace. You need to learn these skills. And so I was like, we need to solve this problem. This is a big problem. And for me, I was like, well, what would I have needed when I started in the workplace? What would have been the most helpful medium or forum to understand how to navigate these like very specific scenarios? And like part of the insight in that thinking was there are moments that matter a ton that like loom large when you're first starting out. Like I can vividly remember the first time I was supposed to like basically present at like a weekly team meeting, and it wasn't even a big deal. It was just like an update on what we read over the weekend. But I was like hyperventilating because I'm like, oh my God, they're going to see how stupid I am basically. Because there's this idea, right, that when you come into the workplace, you just should observe and then like kind of reproduce what they're doing. But you don't see all of the times that the person who like looks flawless failed in their careers.
Oh yeah,
right?
I don't know how they mask that. I'm like, sometimes, you guys just be honest with us. Like, you guys are putting us on, giving us very high expectations to meet. Like, I had a manager who told, sorry.
No, go ahead, please. Okay.
Yeah. And he might be listening to this. But I had a manager who told me like, oh, the standard is 105. So if you're only getting 100, that's not good enough. 105 is the bare minimum. So you need to be aiming for like 110. I'm like, I was already overachieving at that point. I'm like, the standards you guys are setting, it's good because it pushes us to be better. But how are we going to be able to keep this up and not get burnt out at some point? But continue.
Absolutely. So I just think that people don't talk about it, and it should be talked about. And so that was the vision for the company that we set out to create. And then it's evolved since then. I'm happy to talk about that, but that was like the pain point that we were looking to solve.
Well, that's a very like great origin story. So to the next question, since you've started your business, you have a goal, you guys are actively working on solving this goal. I would say like, for people who are, thinking about starting a company, like what are the hurdles that you faced in the beginning?
Sure. So I would say the biggest hurdle is making sure that people actually want what you're creating. And so again, started off with this pain point that we were trying to solve. And so it's like early career professionals navigating the workplace. And so we basically started off with this idea we would just do AI for early career professional development, right?
Okay.
In those moments when you need help, I have a meeting with my manager and I didn't do what I said I was going to do last week. Like, what should I say? Or like, there's this person in the workplace that I really admire and I want them to be my mentors. Like, how do I reach out to them? How do I increase my visibility? Should I speak up in this meeting? All those like little nitty gritty questions that just is your workplace experience is filled with uncertainty. How can you help people navigate those? So we started off with that as the like core product. And we started talking to a bunch of early career professionals and they're like, oh, this is really cool. Like, this is great. And then we were like, okay, great. Well, we're going to sell this to companies. We're going to say, hey, like, you need this for your early career professionals. They're going to be better, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. And the companies were like, no, that's a great project you have there. Nice little project. Got AI. It's cool. Good for you. And I was like,
wow,
what?
That's a violation.
What? We spent like literally months working on this model, and like making it specifically cater to the early career professional experience, like using all this research. And they were like, cool. Like that's good a project for you. Like I'm not gonna why would I buy this? Like this is crazy. It's just another AI thing. Like who cares? And so
because they felt like someone could just chat GPT.
Basically, the idea was that they're getting thrown in so many AI like AI for X, AI for Y, that there was almost like a fatigue factor with you're trying to get me to use all these tech tools. Like I just need to do my job. Okay. And so from there we said, okay, what problem are we actually solving for our customer, not our end user? Because the end user, again, is the early career professional. But our customer is these companies that employ these people. Yeah. And so a problem that they face is retention. So you spend all this money like recruiting, hiring, training people out of college or grad school, for example, and then they leave after 6 months, 2 years. 2 years is like a great kind of stint.
2 years is
that's
good.
An excellent stint.
You did a good thing.
And they might, not be that great the whole time they're there. So that's just a terrible ROI. Yeah. You spend all this time creating this great intern program, doing all this onboarding, and they're just gone. And so that's when we started changing what we were kind of offering to help companies with retention. And so it's like, hey, as opposed to saying, here, we have this AI thing, it's like, okay, AI, whatever, I don't want to listen to you. Yeah. It's like, hey, are you struggling with retention among your junior talent? And people are like, oh.
And they're all struggling.
Interesting. That is a problem that we might think about. Do you feel like the new generation of professionals isn't prepared for the workplace? Oh, I feel like there are some misconceptions and issues that they're having. And so once we started talking in that language, like what problem were we solving for the companies we were trying to sell to, we started having much more meaningful conversations, I would say. And so that was the biggest thing. Just make sure, like, when you're starting out, are you actually solving a problem? And everyone says this, and I heard it, and I saw it on, all these startup things, but, you think that your idea is so special until you try to talk to someone and actually sell it to them, like, you don't actually know if you have anything. So.
I was going to say that, honestly, I think, like, you knew the problem you were solving from the start. I think it's just, like, how you explained it. I think it's also just marketing. It's how you present yourself, because you came off, okay, because you just felt like it's a no-brainer. You should know why this is going to be useful. But you then have to take your time and think, okay, how can I strategically market this product in a way that they would find appealing? And once you picked on the retention, they were like, oh, tell me more. So, yeah, I'll say that's really good. But I'll also like add on, because I also did like read another podcast that you were on where you mentioned this. I would say like it's good to focus on the customer, but I feel like it's also at the same time with focusing on the customer, still don't neglect the users too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, if the customers buy the product and then the users don't find it useful, then the customer come back and be like, yeah, we're not renewing our contracts.
Exactly.
So you spoke about AI. So are there like any, since your company uses AI, are there like any future innovations like you guys are currently working on that you think would be useful to, well, of course, would be useful to your customers?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing is personalizing everyone's experience even more, because there's so many routes you can take with this technology. I mean, it's almost endless as far as like how niche or how broad you want the applications to be. And so it's just like finding that balance where would you rather it give you advice that you're not necessarily asking for directly, but could help you on in this area that you're not thinking of, but might be more useful? Would you rather it prompt you with questions that could help you be more reflective about your own career versus trying to directly give you an insight like in the here and now? And so just tinkering with that, it's almost like turning dials, I would say, that can add value from we want every engagement to be as effective as possible. Our platform is not really meant for people to use it like all the time. We want them to be engaged in their job. That's why we don't have like a course where it's like modules and it feels like it's just another task that you need to complete. It's more so like in the moment when you need it most, this is a resource that can be very valuable to you. And so trying to fine tune based on responses, based on people's feedback, based on the customer and the client's feedback, how we can make it as useful as possible to the end user.
So like, what's the current strategy in terms of like getting clients? You know, I saw you've been posting regularly on LinkedIn. So is that like one of the ways that you've been trying to, you know, get clients for your company? Yeah.
So the LinkedIn thing is funny. I was basically not on social media at all prior to this journey. I mean, I think I posted I have 4 photos on my Instagram or something like that. I only post stories about the New York Knicks. I'm a huge New York Knicks fan, and they're like black on white. There's no like context other than like what I'm just like spewing into the ether. But I went to this conference in October of 24, maybe September, October, and it was like a conference called ZCon. Phenomenal conference. Highly recommend anyone who's thinking about going for the next year. But it was with these. It was like on like the creator economy. And trying to understand, it was like built by Gen Z for Gen Z and how we are experiencing the new world. And there were so many speakers that went up on stage that were our age that were like, yeah, I mean, I thought it was weird when I first started talking about my day, like what I'm eating, things that I'm interested in. And, you know, embarrassment is the price of admissions to being successful online. For real. And like, it's not that I am some crazy extrovert and that's why I'm good at this. I just like do it a lot and I practice, and that's what makes it successful. And so I was always like, there's a little cringe to be online posting. It's kind of weird to like, not that I was judging people, but I was just like, that's just not me. I can't do that. That's crazy. But then I heard that and I was like, you know what? These people are doing it. And they're being very upfront about how it was awkward at first and it didn't make sense at first. And so I was just like, let me just try it. And so I started posting on LinkedIn. I used to be 3 times a week. Now I post 5 times a week. I post videos, texts, books that I'm reading.
Cheers to the hard work.
Polls. It's been a really interesting journey, and I think especially because I'm doing so much with this company. Like I'm literally doing this all the time, full time. There's so much to talk about. Yeah. Because when I first started, I was like, wow, what am I going to talk about? Like, this is crazy. But then I'm like, I'm just going to talk about what I'm doing, what I'm reading, what I'm thinking about. And for some reason, the posts that I spend the least amount of time on, I'm just like, let's put this out there. They're the ones that do the best. It's very strange. I have no idea what it's funny because I think people like authenticity. Yeah. And so the more that you can just talk about what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, the more that resonates. At least that's what I found. So that's been a very interesting journey for me because I was not a social media guy before this at all.
Yeah, but you should definitely continue that because like you soon find that, you know, you're growing a community, and even like outside your company, like you would then start to have people who like feel some form of connection with you. It's kind of like how, you know, like Bill Gates has Microsoft, but like he does, you know, he's just doing his thing now, but like he still has like so many supporters. So it's good to build that community for yourself. So I guess the next question I have is, in terms of like clients, like how did you feel when you got your first big client?
There's no feeling like that. I
Really?
mean,
Okay.
especially because we were working for so long on like the wrong thing. Not necessarily the wrong thing, but just like we went so hard down this avenue that like wasn't really that interesting for others to pursue. So it was like, it felt like we were kind of banging our heads against the wall. And so when something actually hit, and by the way, these sales cycles are way longer than I thought they would be. It's not like you just have one conversation like, oh, great, let's just do it. You're constantly going back and forth, trying to respond to inquiries, push but not be too pushy, understand where their priorities are, asking questions, right? Like you have to understand like sales is very different than just like, this is what it is. That's it. Like understanding where they're coming from. And so to have that process culminated and like people actually want to give us money for what we're doing is like, I mean, this thing didn't exist like a year ago. It's like, it's crazy. And so that feeling, I don't think anything will ever surpass that feeling because it just affirmed that all the work that has been put in at least is worth something. It's not literally for
vibes.
I mean, before, cause it's funny, like when I tell people what I was doing, some of them were like, okay, cool. Like, that's like your little project that you're doing before you figure out something real to do. That was kind of the energy.
Oh.
And like, that.
But honestly, that's how people are.
That's how people are. But also they're right. I mean, if I don't make any money, then like is it a business if you don't have any money? Like, I don't know. I mean, that was at least, I had nothing to say because it is a hobby until you make money is my view. So I was very happy that I could actually say this. No, this is not a hobby. This actually makes money. So that was a great feeling. Well,
that's very good to hear. So y'all keep pushing. Just like Angel was pushing, secure your first client, secure the bag. But before we dive further, I do have another question for you.
Quick intermission here, but you guys make sure that you're following me on all platforms. Follow me at Instagram at Is It That Deep Podcast. So on Instagram it is _that_deep. Please make sure you follow. And you can also follow my Instagram if you want. It's Doing_ADN. And please make sure you're following. So if you're listening on Spotify, click that follow. Please, it really helps me grow. And if you're watching on YouTube, you guys subscribe, like, comment. Like, it helps with the algorithm. So please, and cheers because your friends and family. I'm now on other streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts, so you can also see this. Essentially, if you use Apple Music, go search Is That Deep. We're there. And yeah, that's all. Thank you guys.
So, in building your career is like starting off as a CEO. So this is the question. So if you guys don't know, Angel has said multiple times now that he worked as an investment banker. So to give you more context, he worked as an investment banker at Goldman Sachs. And, he literally made this decision to, start his business. And he made that decision in like 2 weeks. So he literally had a conversation with, I don't know who he spoke to, but he spoke to someone and then he made the decision. And then in that moment, he quit his job. So I'm just curious, weren't you scared? Like, how did you know like things were going to work out the way things are working out now? Like, weren't you like, okay, maybe I should hold on a little, keep pushing the company on the side? Like, what gave you that courage?
So that's a great question. So I had a conversation with the mentor and I was like, I mean, we work together, right? So I really liked my job. I was like, I loved it. I thought I was in a great seat. I thought I was growing fast. I had great teammates. Like I was in a great position and I actually really liked what I did. And which is different than a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends hated their jobs. They were at Goldman or whatever, these great companies, but they were like, this is kind of boring. I don't really love this. It's not what I want to do long term. I was like, this is dope. Like I actually really enjoy the position that I'm in. And so I told one of my mentors that, and I was like, but also maybe down the line, I want to pursue entrepreneurship. Maybe like after I build my career, I have, more more security, I would, pursue entrepreneurship like later down the line. Just like I almost said it offhanded. And they were like, what? Like you think you want to be an entrepreneur, but you want to do it later? Like if you want to be an entrepreneur, the best time to do it is now. Like you have no kids, you're not married, no mortgage. Like what exactly
what's holding you back?
Like kind of like there's no better time. If you fail, there will be no impact, basically. I mean, you're not even responsible for anyone other than yourself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, you're actually kind of right. And so I quit. And like, to be honest with you, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I didn't have a business. I didn't have anything. Like literally, I didn't even know what the company was going to be. I just said, okay, well, I have 3 years of experience. What have I done? Well, I've been an early career professional. So let's do something with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I swear. There was no like business plan I'm going to do. I was just like, because I was so into my job that like I wasn't even thinking about side businesses. I was just like locked into being the best mortgage trader I possibly could.
Really?
Yeah. This is not a joke.
Sir, I don't know why I thought it was something that you already had in mind that you wanted to do. You kind of maybe had a plan, but like you then spoke to, your mentor at work, and then he just gave you that extra opportunity. Like, okay, boom, I already have. I didn't know like.
No, I quit.
No.
Now I had these experiences where I was like, wow, like when I started, I had no idea what I was doing, and now I feel like I'm doing well, etc. So like that transition was like, impacted me, and I had always been like very involved in like, talking with college kids who were interviewing or like trying to get internships, and like that was a part of. I was very involved in I was like the Harvard recruiting captain at Goldman. Like I was very involved in like helping people from college be successful in that environment. And so that was always a passion of mine, but it was never like this is going to be a business. It was just like, I'm just going to continue to do this because I have this position and I can try to help people. But no, I quit and I had no idea. I mean, and the reason like people were like, oh, I had no idea. Like I actually signed a lease for another year, like 2 weeks before that. Yeah. So that's how I proved, like, I actually, because I would have probably moved or something, like maybe paid less money or rent if I knew I was going to do that. So no, I actually quit with nothing. And I was just like,
you had like a safety net of savings.
Yeah. Like, I was like, we'll figure it out. But that was truly the thing. So to answer your question about like, how did I get the courage? I was just like, this is the best time to do it.
Why not?
Like,
you know what? Funny enough too, because Angel's already said it. We both worked at Goldman. I feel like he left shortly after I left. Yeah, shortly after I left. But I wouldn't say why I left. I left for many reasons. But I'll say like, I also had that like a similar mindset of like, well, if I'm gonna leave, I can only do that now because now I have like less risk. Of course, I did have a plan. I didn't just.
and you should have a plan. Don't be like me. Don't quit.
And I also knew that my lease was ending soon, so there was a whole process. I already like figured everything out. There were things in motion. Also, I'm in grad school, so shout out NYU. But lest I digress. I just wanted to point out that we did have that similar thinking where like you can only there's certain risks you can only take now. I mean, you can take it in the future, but like, I mean, if it fails, imagine you have kids and then you've put so much of your money into starting a business, and then there's school fees. There's so much on the line that you might as well just take that risk now that you're young and you can. They say young people, you only live once. These are the types of risks I feel like you can take now, not like partying and like forgetting about your future. Okay. So let's get into the second segment. We've briefly touched on some misconceptions of Gen Z in the workplace. I'll start with one. You could start first.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Please, I love to hear it.
I was going to talk about like, there's this whole thing about like Gen Z leaving. I know your thing was your whole company is about like retention. But I think that our generation compared to the older generation, I think they got like their pension. I feel like they were rewarded more for job security. They also got like stocks, company stocks. I feel like us, and I know more about the banking industry, but I feel like we don't get that. Like, there's not that much reward for being loyal. They have all these layoffs. I feel like they kind of even give off the vibe of like you're replaceable, especially if you like, if you're working for a competitive company. Let me even use like tech. You're working for like Google, Apple. Like, there's lots and lots of people who want to work for these big top companies. So like, but again, all these big top companies also have, massive layoffs here and there. And I feel like a lot in the time that I've started working, I feel like I've seen like more than 4 or 5 massive layoffs. So it's like, I don't know. Why would they then expect, Gen Z to then be super loyal? Because I feel like we also are aware that, there's also other things we could do that might not even give us this much stress, and we're still probably even going to earn even way more. So in essence, I'm saying that Gen Z is not lazy. I think that, sometimes maybe they can be selfish, but I would say definitely not lazy. Okay.
So I think there's so many great things in what you just said. The first thing is, so we do a lot of research on this topic, obviously, and Gen Z professionals are 20 percentage points more likely to leave their job within 3 years than any other generation. More than millennials,
And you get
more than
rewarded
boomers, more than Gen X, like at the same age, like just in the first 3 years, like how many people think they're actually going to be at this job in 3 years? And so that's a massive delta. And that's not just explained by people being young, because people have been young for many years. You hit on a lot of points, which is, people used to have pensions. There used to be like a real path for me to retire and have a sustainable life by being a part of this company for many, many years. I think that there's an increased accessibility of non-traditional careers that didn't really exist previously. Everyone knows someone from their high school making actually a lot of money online, doing like get ready with me's or whatever. Like it's a real career path. Yeah. And I think prior it was like, okay, that's just like an anomaly, this one person, like there's no way that's a sustainable way to make a living. But I think there's so much access to those kinds of careers now that people are thinking, well, maybe I can figure out a way to do what I like and also make a honest living. Then I also think, we were in school during COVID, right? True. So if your experience being in the pandemic was, before you actually enter the workplace, that totally changes your expectations, at least in my opinion. So if let's say you were 35 when COVID happened, and you're working from home, you might think that you earned the right to work from home because you have kids and like you need more flexibility to handle your life. Whereas that was like, we came into this place and there was work from home. There was like
we came
totally
into
remote
this space working from home because around the time we started, it was still even COVID and we're still fully remote.
Exactly.
And then now you're saying everyone coming and then you're surprised. Like, I don't know. I guess continue.
No. So I'm saying, like, we view it as like an inalienable right. It's like, of course I could, like, if I feel like being home on a Thursday, I could be home on a Thursday. What's the deal? I get my work done. Yeah. Whereas for other generations, it's viewed as like a perk. And so I think there's different conceptions of what work means. Yeah. And then AI just accelerated all of these different concerns because, well, the layoff piece I think is a really great point. There was someone in my class at Harvard that was summa cum laude, like they basically had a perfect GPA. Oh, wow. They got fired 1.5 years in to working at Goldman Sachs. 1.5 years. This is like the smartest person. I mean, they got laid off. And so
why? Is it because they sold not sold. I think they stopped. Why did they get laid off though?
Look, like, I don't know. I wasn't on their team, but I think the point is layoffs are real. Like it's happening to everyone. It's not just
so basically layoffs happen not because of the output or your work. It could just be because of economical reasons, which is beyond your control.
And so if that's happening when you're first entering the workplace, it makes sense why you'd be skeptical of,
being loyal.
Exactly. And so I think that's a natural reaction to what the circumstances. The other thing I'll say is that this idea of Gen Z being lazy or Gen Z not wanting to work, that's been around for like literally hundreds of years. There's a great researcher, Joe Moll, who has this book, Employalty, and he talks about how this like myth of lazy is what he calls it, and he traces it back 128 years. to people in like the late 1800s saying, you know, the people born in the 1860s don't work as hard as those born in the 1840s.
See.
Like, this is just a consistent trope that happens all the time with young people.
Different.
And so I think the whole lazy, we don't want to work, we're not loyal. It's important to create an environment where people want to stay, right? Why should young people who have more options now than ever, and theoretically, in terms of like field, not necessarily in terms of job, but in terms of the fields they can pursue, why would they not try to utilize those options if they're not being fulfilled financially, socially, you know, in terms of their values at work? And so I think the onus is on the companies, and like this is one of the things we help with, to try to create an environment where people want to stay. Why should your junior talent actually want to stay? How do you increase the opportunity cost of leaving? And that's the question that we should be answering.
And that is what Angel's company is working to solve. Period.
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 Exactly.
So I mean, I guess that's all the misconceptions that I can think of. But I'll say for you, do you see yourself going back into the workforce or as an investment banker? Or like, do you ever see yourself maybe, you know, Buddle has done what, you know, you created it for. Now you have more, maybe you have your stake in the company, but you've got freedom. Do you see yourself going back into investment banking, or maybe even starting a hedge fund, or, you know?
I love this work. I really do. And so I think that just the idea of helping people navigate situations that I've struggled with more efficiently, more effectively, more fluidly is something that I'm just really passionate about. And so whatever permutation that takes, I think that'll always be like a core pillar of mine. When I was in college, I started this program to help high school students. My senior year was COVID. So I got sent home March of 2020 for my junior year, and then my whole senior year was remote. And so I started this program where like we connected high school students applying for the first time, no SATs, no ACTs, this crazy.
Oh yeah. They did
They took away all the standardized tests to college with like a bunch of college students who were like my friends and people that I knew at other schools to help them like do one-on-one college coaching and college consulting. That was just something that I was like passionate about. And so, you know, it's always been like a pillar of mine to say, what can I haven't done much in terms of my age and my experience, but like what I have done can be valuable to those right behind me. So how can I help them directly and also create structure and institutions and an ecosystem that can help others navigate those spaces? So I think that I want to stay in this space. I really like it. I think it's something that I'm good at. And it makes me want to get up every morning. So
that's really good. It seems to me like you get, you know, like with what you do now, you're earning money, but you're also getting the fulfillment from your job. Like, because I feel like for me, okay, now I'm talking about like other things, but I think for me, like some people say it's a myth. You know, some people feel like, you know, you can't always get fulfillment from your career. Like, you know, it's just your job. Just go, just do the work, come back. Get fulfillment from other things.
Yeah.
Like, fulfillment might not necessarily come from your job. But I also agree, like, I wouldn't say what my goals are yet because I want to actually create it and then speak about it. But for me, like, you know, having an impact in the community, but also maybe figuring out a way to also earn is, like, what I want to do. So I'm very into and I push for impact investing. But you personally, what do you think? Do you think everyone should strive to get fulfillment from their jobs, or do you think that, you know, your job is just your job, just do it and go?
I think that you should make sure you are financially secure in whatever you're doing. That is the number one. That's number one priority. I think when you talk about you should do your passion, you should not do your passion, make sure you have enough money to pay your bills, period. Because we could live in a fantasy world, but at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
If you're able to do that and also pursue something that you love, please go do that. But if not, I think you should try to be in fields that you're really good at. Yeah. I think people underestimate the idea of doing things that you have a natural advantage in. And then once you have cultivated or max out that natural advantage, to your point, you have the capacity to explore more things. But I feel like people a lot of times are just in a rush. And there's all this like, keeping up with the Joneses, trying to be perceived as more successful or more, into yourself or into your career than you really are. But I think, one thing entrepreneurship has taught me is like things have to make actual sense. You can't just be living in a fantasy world. So I think that, I worked at Goldman for 3 years. I didn't, never work a real job and just start a company out of nowhere and that kind of thing. And so I really value this idea of like leaning into your strengths. And if those are aligned with your passion, then great. But if they're not, lean into them, get that financial stability, and then do whatever your heart desires.
Basically, financial stability is key. If you can figure out a way to monetize what your passion is, then go ahead. But you need money to survive. So get that money, then pursue that passion if it's not something that would like give you the money. All right, so next segment, we're going to play a game.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
I hope this game is fun, but this game is called Win or Bin. It was inspired by the Cocktails and Takeaway podcast hosted by Madam Joyce. All right, so you have to pick one really quickly and tell us why. So first one, crypto or stocks?
Stocks.
Why?
You can look at quarterly earnings reports.
I mean, it makes sense.
Like,
you can do
actual research. Like, yeah, definitely stocks.
Employee or employer?
Employer.
Okay, period. Beer or wine?
I don't drink, but wine.
You don't drink?
I don't know.
Not even occasionally? See, very responsible. OpenAI or DeepSeek?
OpenAI.
OpenAI?
Yeah, OpenAI.
Why?
I'm an American. Why would I favor a Chinese copy of
enough.
OpenAI?
Okay. Instagram or TikTok? You're not on social medias. Oh.
Instagram, for sure.
Instagram for sure.
For sure.
Why?
Because there's more of a personal piece to Instagram. I feel like TikTok is all about the For You page. Instagram is very For You driven. But you can still have profiles that are really like valuable. People still post things that matter to them and not just to go viral. I don't even use TikTok, so this could all be nonsense. But to me, I feel like Instagram is still more the social aspect of social media as opposed to just the media.
Okay, so prenup or no prenup?
Prenup. This is the conversation we had for the pod.
I just added this.
I am very pro.
Oh, you're very pro prenup.
Yeah.
From that conversation, it seemed like, okay, you're very pro prenup. Why?
So I actually just listened to Stephen Bartlett, Diary of the CEO. He has a podcast with James Sexton, who's like a top divorce lawyer.
I think I listened to that guy already. He was on I think some other podcast.
Yeah, he's really
That's
good.
when I had like a whole prenup conversation with my boyfriend. You guys know already. Okay, we'll continue.
But I just think it's a hard conversation that you should have before marriage. And it's a signifier of, are you capable of having hard conversations, which is something that you need to do while you're married. And so it's not about, who's going to get this money. It's like, can we actually come to the table, have different incentives by definition, and come to an agreement that both of those can be aligned with? That's a good marker of what will be a sound union, in my opinion, long term. And so if you're offended by someone asking for a prenup, I think you should look inward and ask, what's the real reason for that?
I think majority of people, their reason is they feel like there's a lack of trust. Because if I look at my parents, they don't have prenups. Their friends don't have prenups. Their friends' friends don't have prenups. I feel like a lot of the older generation, not a lot of them have prenups. A couple do, but I feel like most of them don't. Because I don't know why. I guess this is how things happened then. But I think now, like if you mention prenups, some people just see it more as a lack of trust. Because they feel like, getting into a marriage, at the altar, you say all these vows to yourselves. You say it in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, till death, emphasis on the death. Till death, till death do us. Till death do us apart. So, I think some people, they just see it as there's some lack of distrust, because some of them are like, well, even if this relation, God forbid, but if this ends, like, do you then think I'm gonna be asking for money? I don't know.
Well, I think the reason why is because, well, the same reason you get life insurance. You don't think you're gonna die tomorrow,
But you're definitely gonna die.
but you don't think you're gonna die tomorrow.
But you're definitely gonna die. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're right. But you still attribute a cash value to what that would happen if you die tomorrow.
You know, I had an argument with this person because so I saw a video online, but they compared it to like health insurance. But the thing about getting sick, like, it's inevitable. Not you, but we're all gonna get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's normal to get sick. You're not you're gonna get sick. You know, life. Everyone's gonna die because we get old every year. But I feel like in a marriage, it's not guaranteed that it's going to fail.
So prenup stands for prenuptial agreement. So it's just an agreement.
But that only happens.
So that's a
It only
contract.
comes to play if the relationship ends.
That is true. But it's a contract, right? So if you cannot have a conversation with your soon-to-be spouse about having a contract of what would happen if the relationship goes poorly, I think that's indicative of something deeper, that you're not able to have hard conversations. You should be able to speak in hypotheticals.
Okay.
Right.
So, I do agree that you should be able to have conversations like that, like deep conversations, financial conversations, like have those deep convos. Personally, because I know now we're talking about it. Personally, I think now I'm kind of like indifferent. I think I'm more like, you do what works for you in your situation. He's very super pro, get that prenup. Yeah. But y'all do what you want to do. But basically, any final thoughts, because the episode's coming to an end. So
I would say, well, first of all, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I really feel that our generation is going to usher in a new vision for what it means to participate in the American dream. I think that's what we are sort of meant to do. And so as we think about what that can look like over the next 20, 30, 40 years, I think it's important to be intentional about how we spend our time and not allow other factors, potentially positive, potentially negative, influence the way we want to kind of build our own lives, because we're the ones that are going to define, where this country goes moving forward. And so I'm proud to be part of this generation, part of this moment, because I think it's going to be
the future.
I think it's going to be massive for, truly generations to come. I think we're at like a really cool inflection point where we don't have the same preconceived notions as prior generations, and we don't have the fallback plan because of the fact that the economy is very unstable at this time, like to really try to usher in this new era of what it means to be economically viable, successful, have prestige. And so we're going to set that new standard for years to come. And so I'm excited to be part of this moment.
Well said, Angel. Before we just finally end the episode, I don't know if you've seen this, but since, you're working on your company, just say a message to your future self, and then you can then watch this episode back and be like, I said that and I did that. So what do you want to, it could be personal, it could be related to your company or whatever you want it to be. But just say a message to yourself on something you want to accomplish. I'll say in 2 years.
It's a great question.
Reflect. This podcast, we get deep sometimes.
We get deep. But is it that deep?
Exactly.
Everything that you are scared of now.
So say, dear future Angel.
Dear future Angel. Everything that you are scared of now, your former self thought was impossible. So keep going. You go from impossible to scared to maybe I can try this, to this might kind of work if I tweak this thing, to this works and I'm going to keep moving forward. That is a continual process. So make sure that you stay on that path.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. You guys will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
This is It That Deep? The podcast where laughs and lessons go hand in hand. We cover everything from finance to relationships and politics. Some of the topics may be sensitive, but it's a safe space to learn and grow. Stick around because this podcast is worth your time. IITD Podcast